A rich man threw a helpless elderly man into the snow during a blizzard, but what the wild wolves did next left the world in shock. A story of arrogance turned into humility, where nature teaches the deepest lesson about compassion. Ancestral secrets revealed, and an unexpected connection between man and animal will forever change your view on redemption. Prepare to be moved, hit that like button, and comment where you're watching this incredible journey from. What makes a man truly powerful? Is it the money he accumulates in his vaults? The ventures he builds with ambitious hands? Or is it something deeper, more essential to our human nature? Something many of us lose in the frantic race for success. In the icy mountains of Wyoming, where the wind howls like an ancient song of lament, a tech entrepreneur is about to discover the answer to that question in the most unexpected way. The snow falls mercilessly. White flakes, once admired for their unique beauty, now become messengers of death as they trigger avalanches across the frozen landscape. It is in this setting that our story begins, not with kindness, but with an act of cruelty that will forever change the fate of everyone involved. Inside a luxurious cabin, the warmth of the fireplace contrasts sharply with the cold in the eyes of Aaron Mitchell, 38, CEO of Mitchell Innovations, a tech company valued in the billions. His angular face, marked by sleepless nights and ruthless decisions, is contorted in fury as he confronts his elderly neighbor, a 75-year-old man named Robert Callahan. "You don't understand how the world works today," Aaron bellows, gesturing, with a glass of whiskey in his hand. "This land is worth more as a resort than as a sanctuary for wolves nobody cares about." Robert, his deep wrinkles seeming to tell tales of 1,000 winters, keeps his voice calm, though his time-faded blue eyes reveal an ancient sadness. "I'm just asking you to reconsider. These packs are the last in the region. Once they disappear..." "Enough," Aaron interrupts with a shout that seems to shake the cabin walls. "I'm fed up with sentimental old fools trying to stop progress. This resort is happening with or without your approval." The air between them grows thick, almost unbreathable. Robert places a wrinkled hand on the imported cedar table. "These wolves have a special connection to this land, to the people who have lived here for generations. The Shoshone believe that indigenous superstitions? Is that what you're using against a project worth hundreds of millions?" Aaron laughs, but it's a hollow, humorless sound. "Get off my property, now. Please, just consider what happens next unfolds in seconds. But for Robert, it feels like an eternity." Aaron advances, his eyes bloodshot, not just with anger, but with something more dangerous. Fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear that something exists beyond the spreadsheets and profits governing his life. With a sudden movement, he grabs the elderly man's coat and drags him to the door. The old man stumbles, tries to resist, but he's no match for the businessman's fury. The door bursts open violently, and the icy wind invades the room like a hungry intruder. Aaron shoves Robert outside, into the merciless storm that has turned the night into a relentless white blanket. "Go back to your miserable cabin and take your wolf worries to someone who cares," Aaron yells before slamming the door shut. Robert's frail legs give way beneath him. He collapses into the deep snow. The cold penetrates his clothes like 1,000 needles, and the darkness around him seems to swallow him whole. His breath forms small clouds in the frigid air as he tries in vain to get up. The temperature must be near 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Without shelter, Robert knows, no one survives more than a few hours. Inside the cabin, Aaron pours himself another whiskey. His hands tremble slightly. "He'll just go home and stop bothering me," he mutters to himself, trying to push away the image of the old man fallen in the snow. But something inside him, an almost forgotten voice of conscience, whispers that Robert is too far from his own cabin, that the storm is too severe, that the night is too dark. Aaron tries to drown out that voice with more alcohol, with the sound of the television, with work emails, but it persists, growing louder with each passing minute. Meanwhile, in the icy darkness of the forest, Robert struggles to stay conscious. His trembling body no longer responds as it should, and a treacherous drowsiness begins to overcome him. He knows what this means. The onset of hypothermia, the body slowly giving up. And then, a sound cuts through the night. A long, piercing howl, followed by another and another. To many, it would be an omen of death. Wild wolves approaching. Easy prey. For Robert, however, it's a familiar sound, almost comforting, although he has never been so vulnerable before these predators. Amber eyes gleam in the darkness, first one pair, then 3, 7. An entire pack emerges from the shadows, moving silently through the snow. They are gray wolves, majestic in their wild strength. The leader, a silver-furred male scarred from old battles, approaches cautiously. Robert closes his eyes, accepting what seems inevitable. But the attack doesn't come. Instead, he feels something warm and rough against his cheek, the wolf's muzzle investigating, not to harm but with an almost gentle curiosity. One by one, the wolves draw near, and something extraordinary happens. They form a circle around the fallen elderly man, their furry bodies blocking the biting wind. It's as if they are providing warmth, protection. The alpha wolf stays close to Robert's head, vigilant, its eyes fixed on the surrounding darkness. In the distant comfort of his cabin, Aaron finally makes a decision. He can't let a man die because of an argument. Pulling on his heaviest coat and grabbing a powerful flashlight, he steps out into the storm, determined to find Robert and bring him back. The wind punishes his face as he pushes through the deep snow, calling the elderly man's name. There's no answer but the incessant howling of the wind. Walking deeper into the darkness, Aaron begins to question his sanity. How could he find one man amid this white vastness? When his flashlight beam catches an impossible scene. There, less than 50 yards away, a circle of wild wolves surrounds something, or someone. Aaron's heart pounds, thinking he's witnessing Robert's final moments being devoured. He rushes forward, shouting and waving the flashlight, trying to scare the animals away. The wolves turn to face him, their eyes reflecting the light like tiny nocturnal suns. They don't flee, they don't attack. They just watch, creating a protective barrier between Aaron and the fallen man. My God, Aaron murmurs, frozen not by the cold but by the sheer incomprehension of what he's seeing. Robert, are you alive? A faint movement in the snow. Robert weakly lifts his head, his lips blue with cold. They are protecting me, he whispers hoarsely. The wolves, as if understanding that Aaron has come to help, begin to slowly move away. The alpha is the last to leave, its eyes locking with Aaron's for a moment that seems to bridge all barriers between man and animal, before disappearing into the forest shadows with the rest of the pack. With trembling hands, Aaron helps Robert to his feet, practically carrying him back to the cabin. Inside, near the fireplace, he wraps the elderly man in blankets, serves hot tea, and calls for medical help on his satellite phone. The storm makes immediate evacuation impossible, but the doctor's voice on the other end guides him on how to treat the initial stages of hypothermia. Why didn't they attack me? Aaron asks, more to himself than to Robert, as he watches color slowly return to the old man's face. Robert smiles weakly. They recognized me. What do you mean, recognized? I've spent 40 years studying that specific pack. 3 generations of wolves. I know each of them, their habits, their territories. Aaron looks out the window into the darkness where the wolves vanished. You're a biologist? Professor Emeritus of Behavioral Biology at the University of Wyoming. Specialized in the social behavior of gray wolves. There's a glint in Robert's eyes now, no longer fear but pride. Retired 5 years ago, but I never stopped my fieldwork. Aaron feels as if the ground has been pulled out from under his feet. And I just threw you out into the snow. You didn't know who I was. That doesn't make it any less unforgivable. A silence settles between them, filled only by the crackling fireplace and the distant howl of the wind. It's Robert who finally breaks it. You know what's most fascinating about wolves? They never abandon a pack member, ever. No matter how weak, how sick, how old that member becomes, the pack stays together. He fixes Aaron with a gaze that seems to pierce his soul. What happened tonight wasn't normal. Even for wolves who know me, they should have kept their distance from humans. Instead, They protected me from the cold. It's as if they knew. Knew what? That something important is about to happen. Something that goes beyond me, you, or them. The words hang in the air like a prophecy. Aaron feels a chill that has nothing to do with the cold outside. When morning comes, the storm has subsided enough for paramedics to reach the cabin. Robert is taken to the small hospital in the town of Pine Ridge, while Aaron stays behind, staring at the landscape now bright under the winter sun, trying to process the previous night's events. What he doesn't know is that during the rescue, a park ranger captured the wolves' unusual behavior on video. Within hours, the footage spreads through the local community and quickly gains traction on social media. Protector Wolves, the Wyoming miracle, goes viral, drawing journalists, onlookers, and scholars to the small town. 3 days later, Aaron visits Robert in the hospital. The elderly man is recovering well, despite his age and severe exposure to the cold. When Aaron enters the room, carrying an awkward bouquet of local wildflowers, he's greeted not with resentment, but with a gentle smile. "Mr. Callahan, Aaron begins, but the words seem inadequate given the magnitude of his mistake. "Robert, please, and don't torture yourself anymore. I'm alive, thanks to you." "Thanks to the wolves," Aaron corrects. "I was the reason you almost froze to death." Robert gestures to the chair beside the bed. As Aaron sits, he notices the books and scientific articles scattered around the room, all about wolf behavior, all authored by Robert Callahan, Ph.D. "What happened that night was extraordinary," Robert says, his tone now more professorial than accusatory. "In 50 years of studying animal behavior, I've never seen anything like it. The wolves didn't just recognize me, they improvised a solution to an emergency situation." Aaron frowns. "What do you mean?" "Circling prey is a hunting tactic, not a protective one. They adapted a predatory behavior to keep me warm. It's a demonstration of, I don't even know what to call it. Empathy? Emotional intelligence? Is that possible? Theoretically, no. Practically, well, you saw it with your own eyes." Robert pauses, studying the businessman's face. "Aaron, why did you come looking for me that night?" The question catches Aaron off guard. I couldn't just let you die, even if it meant leaving comfort and safety, risking yourself in a blizzard. Of course, anyone would do the same." Robert smiles, as if Aaron had inadvertently proven an important point. "Not everyone would. And that leads me to believe that, like the wolves, you might surprise yourself." Aaron looks away, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "I know about your plans for the resort." Robert continues. "I know you've bought up practically the entire area north of Pine Ridge. I also know the environmental impact studies were superficial at best. Are you suggesting something illegal?" Aaron's defensiveness returns. "I'm suggesting that a second, more careful look might reveal things you haven't considered. Things like the fact that this particular pack represents the last genetically distinct lineage of gray wolves in the entire Rocky Mountain region." Aaron sighs. "With all due respect, Dr. Callahan, species preservation is important, but so is economic development. Pine Ridge is dying economically. My resort will bring jobs, tourism, new life. And what if there was a way to have both?" Robert asks, leaning forward. "What if this extraordinary experience we shared could show us a different path, one where both wolves and people thrive?" Something in the old man's voice, a mix of challenge and hope, strikes Aaron unexpectedly. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A second chance. For you, for the wolves, for Pine Ridge." Robert extends his wrinkled hand. "Come with me when I'm discharged. Let me show you what you've really bought before you decide how to transform it." Against all business logic, against the advice of his lawyers and partners, Aaron accepts the invitation. A week later, as the first spring snow begins to melt on the lower slopes, he finds himself following Robert along winding trails through the pine forest. The old man, surprisingly recovered, moves with the ease of someone who knows every rock, every tree on the path. He talks as he walks, sharing decades of knowledge about the local ecosystem, the history of the Shoshone people who regard wolves as spiritual guides, and the intricate web of life dependent on the presence of apex predators. Aaron listens, first out of courtesy, then with growing genuine interest. He had always seen nature as scenery, a backdrop for human activities, never as a living, interdependent organism of which we are a part. At midday, they reach a natural viewpoint, a rocky outcrop offering a panoramic view of the valley. In the distance, Aaron can see his property and the preliminary markings for what would be the initial phase of the resort. "There," says Robert, pointing to a wooded area near a small stream. "That's the pack's main den." As if summoned by the biologist's words, 3 wolves emerge from the vegetation. They are the same ones from before. Aaron recognizes the alpha by his silver fur and scars. The animals stop, observing the 2 men on the hilltop without fear, without aggression, just attention. "They see us," Aaron murmurs, fascinated. "They always see us," Robert replies. "The question is, are we willing to truly see them?" The following days turn into weeks and weeks into months. Spring blooms in Wyoming, bringing new colors to the landscape once dominated by white and gray. Aaron, who had originally planned a brief visit to Pine Ridge to oversee the start of construction, finds himself extending his stay. Every morning, he accompanies Robert on his observation walks. Equipped with binoculars and a notebook that begins to fill with notes, Aaron learns to recognize each member of the pack, to understand their social roles, their distinct personalities. The alpha, whom Robert calls Silver due to his coat, stands out not for his aggression, but for his strategic intelligence and calm leadership. It's a common misconception that packs are led by brute force, Robert explains during one of their observations. In reality, they are structured families where cooperation is valued more than domination. Aaron reflects on his own corporate leadership tactics, based on ruthless competition and rigid hierarchies. Not so different from human corporations, then. Robert smiles. More different than you imagine. Wolves never abandon a sick or injured member to boost quarterly profits. The jab is gentle but accurate. Aaron absorbs the criticism in silence. On a particularly warm, late May afternoon, while following a new cub on its first explorations, they find something alarming. A young female wolf, a pack member Robert identifies as Aurora, is lying near a ravine, breathing with difficulty. Her fur is stained with blood around her abdomen. "Illegal trap," Robert murmurs, carefully examining the wound. She managed to break free, but the damage is severe. The wolf growls weakly as the men approach, a sound more of fear than threat. "She needs veterinary help," Robert says, "but we can't just pick her up and carry her down the mountain." Aaron, surprising even himself, is already taking off his jacket. "We can make a makeshift stretcher. I'll bring my car to the closest point on the trail." Robert looks at him with a mixture of surprise and approval. "That might work, but we need to be fast. She's losing blood." Working together, the 2 men improvise a stretcher with jackets and sturdy branches. The wolf, too weak to resist, allows them to move her, her amber eyes fixed on Aaron's with an expression he could swear was recognition. During the steep descent, carrying the considerable weight of the wild animal, Aaron realizes something that will forever change his perspective. This isn't just a wolf, a natural resource to be managed, or an obstacle to be removed. This is Aurora, a living being with her own personality, place, and purpose on this earth. They managed to reach Aaron's car, a luxury SUV he never imagined using to transport an injured wild predator. At the small Pine Ridge Veterinary Clinic, Dr. Maya Rodriguez, a young wildlife specialist, receives the wolf with professional efficiency, completely ignoring the fact that one of the richest men in the country is in her examination room. Clothes, stained with blood and dirt. "The wound is serious but not fatal," she diagnoses after a thorough examination. "What worries me more?" She performs a quick ultrasound and confirms her suspicion. She's pregnant, at least 4 pups near full term. Aaron feels a wave of nausea. If he had started the resort construction as planned, this area would already be cleared, the wolves scattered and worse. "Can we save her? And the pups?" he asks, surprised by the urgency in his own voice. Dr. Rodriguez nods. With surgery, intensive care, and a lot of luck. But then comes the bigger challenge. She'll need a safe place to recover where she can also give birth. We can't just return her to the wild in this state, but keeping her in captivity too long risks her reintegration into the pack. My property, Aaron says without hesitation. I have an unused barn that can be adapted. It's close enough to the forest for the pack to visit, but secure enough for medical monitoring. Robert and the veterinarian exchange surprised glances. That could work, Dr. Rodriguez admits, but it would require a significant commitment of time and resources. I have plenty of both, Aaron replies. What he doesn't mention is that his investors are growing impatient with the resort project delays. His phone keeps buzzing with messages demanding updates, deadlines, results. Turning part of his property into a recovery center for a pregnant wolf was certainly not in the business plan he presented to his shareholders. The next morning, after Ituvoiti's successful surgery, Aurora is transported to a carefully prepared space in Aaron's barn. Under Dr. Rodriguez's guidance and with Robert's expertise, the area has been adapted to simulate a natural environment as much as possible while allowing constant observation. In the following days, Aaron finds himself completely absorbed in this new project. He spends hours observing the wolf, learning her habits, slowly gaining her trust. At various times, pack members appear in the distance, as if watching over their companion through the fence. Silver, the alpha, often approaches closer than the others, his eyes scrutinizing the humans with unsettling intelligence. He understands what we're doing, Robert comments one afternoon, as they watch the alpha wolf sitting patiently about 50 yards away. How can you be sure? Wolves are extremely perceptive. They read intentions, emotions. Silver could easily lead an attack to rescue Aurora if he saw us as threats. Instead, he waits, observes, trusts. The word trust echoes in Aaron's mind. When was the last time someone truly trusted him? Not for his money or power, but for his character. When was the last time he deserved such trust? A phone call interrupts his reflection. It's Victoria Zhao, the lead investor in the resort project. Aaron, we need to talk. Her voice is controlled, but with an underlying tension. We're getting some very strange reports. Something about you turning the future resort site into a wolf sanctuary? It's not exactly like that, Victoria. It's a temporary situation. An injured wolf, about to give birth. Aaron, she cuts him off. You bought that property to build a luxury resort that promised a 30% return in 5 years. Now you're playing Dr. Doolittle while our investment sits idle. I'm not playing at anything, Aaron replies, a hint of his old arrogance returning. I'm discovering the true value of this property, and maybe a conventional resort isn't the best way to realize it. The silence on the other end of the line is icy. You have 2 weeks, Victoria says finally. Either we get back to the original plan, or we pull our funding and sue for breach of contract. The threat hangs in the air even after the call ends. Aaron looks at Aurora, resting on the fresh hay, her abdomen now visibly swollen with the soon-to-arrive pups. Then at Silver, still vigilant in the distance. 2 weeks. Enough time for Aurora to give birth and begin her recovery. But then what? Returning to the original plan would mean destroying the habitat not just of this pack, but of the entire interconnected ecosystem Robert had shown him. That night, as the full moon illuminates the mountains, Aaron receives an unexpected invitation. Sarah Blackfeather, a respected elder of the local Shoshone community, requests his presence at a traditional ceremony. I don't understand why they'd invite me, Aaron tells Robert when handed the invitation. I'm the man who wants to build a resort on land they consider sacred. Robert corrects gently. And maybe that's exactly why they want you to attend. The Shoshone believe wolves choose certain people for spiritual transformation. What happened that stormy night? Many interpreted it as a sign. Aaron laughs uncomfortably. A sign of what? That I'm an idiot who nearly killed a respected elder and is now about to lose millions in investments? A sign that you're on the threshold of an important choice, one that will affect not just you, but everyone around you. Robert places a hand on Aaron's shoulder. Just go with an open mind. Listen. Sometimes the wisdom we need comes from the most unexpected sources. Reluctantly, Aaron accepts the invitation. The ceremony takes place in a circle of ancient stones, on a plateau, overlooking the valley. Upon arrival, Aaron is greeted not with hostility, as he expected, but with quiet respect. Sarah Blackfeather, a woman small in stature but with an imposing presence, her white hair braided and eyes that seem to see through centuries, leads him to a place in the circle. The wolf path is not for everyone, she says as a ceremonial fire is lit in the center, only for those who are lost and ready to be found. The ritual that follows is ancient and deeply symbolic. Aaron watches, first with discomfort, then with growing fascination, as stories are told through chants, dances, and offerings to the fire. The Shoshone language, melodic and rich, fills the night as the history of the people and their connection to the wolves is retold. When Sarah finally addresses him directly, the fire is low, almost embers, and the moon high in the sky. "Man from the concrete cities," she says, "you came here believing you owned this land. But the truth the wolves want you to learn is that no one owns the land. We belong to it." She holds her hands over the embers, and for a moment in the dance of shadow and light, Aaron could swear he sees the silhouette of a wolf in the elder's place. The wolves chose you as a messenger. The question is, what message will you carry back to your world? The ceremony ends shortly before dawn, but Sarah's words stay with Aaron as he returns to his property. A strange clarity seems to have settled in his mind, as if layers of ambition, greed, and self-deception were burned away in the ritual fire, leaving only the essence of who he truly is and who he could become. Arriving at the barn, he finds an unexpected scene. Aurora has gone into labor. Dr. Rodriguez is already there, monitoring carefully but keeping intervention minimal. She's progressing normally, she informs Aaron as he enters. Wolves are resilient mothers. For hours, Aaron watches the miracle of life unfold. One by one, 4 pups are born. Tiny, blind, helpless creatures immediately seeking their mother's warmth and nourishment. Aurora, despite her recent surgery, shows extraordinary strength and unwavering maternal instinct. Outside, the pack responds to the birth, with howls echoing through the mountains. A celebration, a welcome. Among them, Silver's distinctive howl stands out, powerful and clear. "That's the sound of this land's future," says Robert, who arrived during the birth of the last pup. "The next generation that will maintain the balance of this ecosystem." Aaron looks at the newborns, so vulnerable yet so full of potential, and feels something shift definitively within him. It's not a calculated decision based on spreadsheets and profit projections. It's something deeper, truer. "I'm not building the resort," he announces. "Not this way, not in this place." Robert watches him intently. "Your investors, they can sue me if they want. I have enough money to fight in court for decades." Aaron smiles, a genuine smile that rarely appears on his face. "But I don't think it will come to that. I have a better idea." In the following weeks, as Aurora's pups grow and she gradually recovers, Aaron works tirelessly on a new plan. He brings together experts in sustainable ecotourism, conservation biologists, Shoshone community leaders, and local entrepreneurs. Together, they develop a revolutionary concept, not a conventional resort, but a wildlife research and conservation center combined with exclusive, educational tourism experiences. "Imagine," he explains to Victoria Zhao during a crucial presentation, "visitors paying a premium not to destroy this ecosystem, but to experience it authentically and sustainably. Expert-guided wolf watching, luxury accommodations with minimal environmental impact, authentic cultural experiences led by the Shoshone, a unique destination not just for its comfort, but for its purpose." Victoria, initially skeptical, begins to see the potential in the new concept. "The market for conscious tourism is booming," she admits, "and the Protector Wolves story has already generated international interest in the region. But the return will be lower in the short term, but greater and more sustainable over time," Aaron completes. "And better yet, will be on the right side of history, pioneering a new form of development that respects and values the natural world instead of exploiting it to exhaustion. It's not easy to convince all the investors. Some pull out, unable to see beyond immediate profits, but others, influenced by the growing trend of ESG, environmental, social, and governance investments, stay on board. In the fall, as the aspen leaves tremble in golden hues under the crisp mountain wind, Aaron receives a surprising offer. Blake Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Enterprises, a rival corporation known for predatory environmental practices, offers to buy the entire project for an astronomical sum, far more than the projected value of the original resort. "You're a businessman," Reynolds says during a lunch in Pine Ridge. "You know this land is worth more for conventional development. All this wolf stuff, conservation, it's charming for PR, but it's not how you maximize value." Aaron studies the man across from him. Elegant, articulate, impeccably dressed, a version of himself from just a few months ago. "You're right about one thing," he replies calmly. "I am a businessman, and as such, I've learned to recognize value where others see only resources to be exploited." He pushes the proposed contract back across the table. "My answer is no." The rejection of the multi-million-dollar offer sends shockwaves through the corporate world. Former colleagues publicly question Aaron's sanity. Concerned family members suggest psychological intervention. Even some of his remaining investors threaten lawsuits for breach of fiduciary duty. Amid the corporate storm, Aaron finds unexpected support. Renowned scientists, environmental activists, celebrities committed to ecological causes, and most importantly, the local community of Pine Ridge rally behind the new project. A social media campaign, Chasm Stand with Wolves, goes viral, drawing international attention to the small Wyoming town. "You've created something bigger than all of us," Robert tells Aaron one October afternoon, as they watch Aurora and her now larger, more active pups. The mother wolf is almost fully recovered, ready to return definitively to the wild. A new way of thinking about development and conservation. "It all started with an act of cruelty," Aaron replies, shame still evident in his voice as he recalls that stormy night. "I threw an old man out into the snow to die, and then you risked your own life to save him," Robert completes. "It's not our mistakes that define us, but how we choose to repair them." That day, with Dr. Rodriguez's assistance, they removed the temporary enclosure that protected Aurora during her recovery. The wolf hesitates at the open entrance, looking back at the humans who helped her. Her pups, now active and curious, tentatively explore the edge of the forest. A familiar howl echoes through the clearing. Silver emerges from the shadows, majestic and cautious. Aurora answers, a sound of recognition and joy. With a final look back at Aaron, a look he could swear held gratitude, she guides her pups towards her mate, towards freedom. "Goodbye." "Aurora," Aaron murmurs, surprised by the emotion in his own voice. "Take care of them." As the wolf family disappears into the forest, something extraordinary happens. The pack doesn't move completely away from Aaron's property. Instead, in the following weeks, it establishes a new territory that includes part of the area, as if recognizing the place as safe. Researchers arriving to study and document the phenomenon confirm something unprecedented. This pack is developing a unique pattern of coexistence near humans, without losing its wild instincts. It's a behavioral adaptation that could revolutionize conservation strategies for endangered species. In the winter, exactly 1 year after the incident that changed everything, an even more severe blizzard hits the region. Aaron is on the property, now transformed into a construction site very different from what he had originally planned. Instead of a massive hotel complex, smaller organic structures integrated into the landscape are being erected using sustainable technologies. The storm intensifies beyond forecasts, becoming one of the worst recorded in regional history. Within hours, avalanches block the main roads, completely isolating Pine Ridge. Power lines fall, communications are cut off. The small community is effectively cut off from the outside world. The situation becomes critical when news arrives. The local hospital's emergency generator has failed, and they have critical patients, including a child waiting for medication that needs refrigeration. Without power, without adequate heating, lives are at immediate risk. The town looks to Aaron no longer as the outsider investor, but as someone who has become part of the community. With his resources and contacts, he might be their only hope. The pass through the East Canyon is completely blocked, reports Sam Cooper, the local sheriff, during an emergency meeting at the town hall. Helicopters can't fly in these conditions. We're cut off for at least 72 hours, according to forecasts. 72 hours is too long, replies Dr. Chen, the hospital director. We have patients who won't survive that long without the proper supplies. Aaron studies the map spread across the table, searching for a solution. It's then that Robert, who has remained silent, points to a winding path through the mountains. The Wolf Trail, he says. It's not officially mapped, but the I-2 Shoshone have used it for generations. It's narrow, difficult, but it passes through valleys sheltered from the wind. A snowmobile could make it through. It's very dangerous, warns Sarah Blackfeather, also present at the meeting. Only those who know the signs can navigate it safely. What signs? Aaron asks. Sarah and Robert exchange significant glances. Wolf territory markings, Robert explains. The trail follows ancient wolf migration routes. If you know what to look for, marked trees, specific rock formations, you can find the way, even in storms. Aaron makes an instant decision. I'll do it. You don't know the trail, the sheriff protests. It's suicide. Robert will teach me, and I have state-of-the-art equipment on the property. Snowmobiles, GPS, emergency radios. GPS won't help on the wolf trail, Sarah says gravely. You need to feel the path, not just see it. Then you come with me, Robert, Aaron decides. If you guide me to the other side of the canyon, I can reach the next town in a few hours and return with the supplies. The plan is reckless, but there are no alternatives. As the storm howls outside, reminding everyone of the night that started, it all exactly 1 year ago, Aaron and Robert prepare for the dangerous journey. Equipped with the best that technology and traditional knowledge can offer, they set off at dawn. The temperature is 15 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and visibility is near zero. The powerful snowmobiles move slowly through the deep snow, following a path only Robert can discern. 2 hours into the trail, as they begin to gain altitude, the storm worsens. Gusts of wind threaten to unbalance the vehicles. The snow is so dense it looks like a white wall ahead. We need to stop, Aaron shouts through the communication system in their helmets. I can't see anything. If we stop here, we'll freeze, Robert replies, his voice crackling with static. We need to reach the shelter of the pines. They push on, every yard a battle against the elements. Aaron follows Robert blindly, trusting the old man's experience when every instinct screams to turn back. And then it happens. A deafening roar cuts through the wind's howl. Robert shouts a warning, "Avalanche!" But it's too late. A wall of snow and ice descends the slope to their right, hitting them with devastating force. Aaron is thrown from the snowmobile, tumbling through the snow, briefly losing consciousness on impact. When he comes to, he's partially buried. With effort, he manages to free himself, desperately calling for Robert. There's no answer but the wind. Panicked, Aaron searches the debris. He finds both snowmobiles destroyed, equipment scattered, but no sign of Robert. His radio is damaged, useless. He's alone, without transport, in the middle of a deadly storm, with no idea how to find the way. The situation seems hopeless when a sound cuts through the storm. A long, distinctive howl, and then another, closer. From the oppressive white of the blizzard, a gray form emerges. Silver, the alpha wolf, materializes like a ghost, his amber eyes fixed on Aaron. Behind him, other pack members appear, including Aurora and her now-grown pups. Silver? Aaron murmurs, questioning his own sanity. Is he hallucinating from the cold? Or have the wolves really found him, just as they found Robert a year ago? The alpha wolf approaches, maintaining a respectful distance, but clearly trying to communicate something. He moves a few yards ahead, stops, looks back, repeats the movement. You want Me to follow you? As if in answer, Silver moves forward again, following a path Aaron couldn't discern on his own. With few options left, Aaron decides to trust the animal. Gathering what supplies he can carry, he follows the wolf through the deep snow. The pack moves around him, creating a protective perimeter against the wind, guiding him along a path that seems impossible to navigate without their help. After what feel like hours, they reach a sheltered slope where the snow is less deep. There, partially covered but still conscious, lies Robert, his leg clearly broken. "You found me," the old man says weakly, but with a smile on his lips. "No," Aaron replies, looking at Silver, who watches from a distance. "They found us." Using his first aid knowledge and the available supplies, Aaron stabilizes Robert's fracture and improvises a temporary shelter. The storm is too strong to continue, but Silver seems to have other plans. The alpha wolf moves away, briefly disappearing, into the snow only to return minutes later. He howls, an urgent sound echoing through the mountains. In the distance, surprisingly, a response comes, not from another wolf, but from humans. A rescue team from the Shoshone Reservation, led by guides who know the wolf trail as well as the animals themselves, finds Aaron and Robert thanks to Silver's call. Among them is Sarah Blackfeather, who smiles upon seeing the wolves interacting with the men. "The wolf path," she says, as they help move Robert onto an emergency sled. "Now you understand?" Aaron looks at Silver, who stands guard nearby throughout. "The rescue. I think I'm beginning to." With the Shoshone team's help, they reach an outpost equipped with a radio. From there, Aaron coordinates an emergency operation, mobilizing his contacts to send medical supplies via air as soon as there's a break in the storm. Within 24 hours, the essential medications reach Pine Ridge, saving lives that would otherwise have been lost. During Robert's recovery in the hospital, Aaron makes an alarming discovery. Revising the original resort project documents, he finds evidence that his former assistant, James Morton, had deliberately falsified environmental studies, concealing the crucial importance of the area for endangered species. "He knew all along," Aaron tells Robert, showing the altered documents. "Knew we were building on critical habitat for one of the last genetically distinct packs in the region. He suppressed the data so the project would get approved faster. Why? Performance bonus, and a promised promotion if the resort was completed on schedule." Aaron shakes his head, disgusted not only by James's actions but by the corporate culture he himself had fostered, where such behavior was incentivized. This revelation offers not only a deeper understanding of the wolves' extraordinary behavior part of a truly unique ecosystem, but also a legal basis for permanently protecting the area. The following spring, as the snow melts and new green shoots emerge on the mountainsides, the Pine Ridge Conservation and Research Center is officially inaugurated. Sustainable architecture blends into the natural landscape, with structures that seem to emerge organically from the environment rather than dominating it. Scientists, students, conservationists, and conscious tourists arrive from around the world, drawn not only by the extraordinary story of the protector wolves, now internationally famous thanks to a documentary produced about the events, but also by the innovative development model Aaron has created. During the inauguration ceremony, Robert has one last revelation to share. "There's something I never told you, Aaron," says the old man, now fully recovered and serving as the center's scientific director. "Before I became a biologist over 50 years ago, I was a very different man." "How so?" "I was CEO of Northwestern Timber, one of the largest logging companies in the country at the time." Robert smiles at the surprise on Aaron's face. "We were ruthless. Cleared entire forests with no regard for habitats or ecological balance. Until what? Until I got lost during a property inspection. It was winter, not as severe as ours, but dangerous enough. I spent 3 days wandering the mountains, certain I would die there." Robert looks out the windows towards the forest where Silver's pack now thrives safely. "On the second day, I encountered a wolf pack, or rather, they found me." Aaron feels a shiver run down his spine, recognizing the parallels with his own story. "They didn't attack me," Robert continues. "They guided me to an unfrozen stream where I could drink. then to a sheltered cave where I spent the night. On the third day, they led me back towards civilization. He pauses, his eyes misting with the memory. I never told the full story to anyone. Who would believe it? But that experience changed everything. I sold my shares, went back to university, at 40 to study biology, and dedicated the rest of my life to understanding and protecting wolves. Why are you telling me this now? Aaron asks, though he already suspects the answer. Because what happened to you, to me, wasn't coincidence or chance. That stormy night when you pushed me into the snow, it was as if the cycle needed to complete itself, as if the wolves knew. Aaron reflects on Sarah Blackfeather's words during the ceremony a year ago, about lost souls, about the wolf path. Are you saying we were chosen? Robert smiles. I'm saying perhaps the natural world is wiser, more interconnected than our human. Arrogance allows us to recognize, and perhaps from time to time, it offers us a chance at redemption. That afternoon, after the official events, Aaron walks alone to the edge of the property, where the preserved forest begins. At the boundary between the human and wild worlds, he sits quietly, waiting. At dusk, as if answering an unspoken invitation, Silver emerges from the trees. There is no fear in his amber eyes, no aggression, just a deep awareness, a mutual recognition between two species that have found a way to coexist. Thank you, Aaron murmurs to the wolf, for showing the way. The alpha wolf holds his gaze, for a moment that seems to stretch beyond time, before silently returning to the shelter of the forest, neither fully tamed nor entirely wild, but existing in a new balance that perhaps points toward the future of our relationship with the natural world. And Aaron Mitchell, once driven solely by profit and power, finds himself transformed, not despite his mistakes, but because of them and his courage to repair them. In the reflection of the wolf's eyes, he has finally found the answer to the question that began his journey. What makes a man truly powerful is not the control he exerts over others, but the responsibility he takes for his actions and his willingness to protect those most vulnerable, whether they be human, wolf, or the planet itself that we all share.